Einen wunderschönen guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Es ist Dienstagabend, es ist 19 Uhr und Sie sind wieder mal auf dem richtigen Kanal bei den CRM-Konvos Gesprächen. Unsere Konversationen sind einzigartig, wir haben die tollsten Gäste und wir bieten das beste Programm. Deshalb sitzen Sie in der ersten Reihe und richtig. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very happy to welcome Denis Seynhaeve in our small little cabinet of experts. It is a pleasure to have you with us, Denis. Thanks for being with us.
Pleasure is mine.
I guess we will learn a lot today, as the starting point was that we had some chit chat about opportunities in customer experience and how, for instance, voice recognition and voice could add more specific value to the customer experience. Then we learned a bit about blade technology, and we learned also that it's not the real fun to spend fortunes for analysts. Now, that was a really cool topic, as the three of us are more or less analysts, and we love to learn what is your secret recipe to get the awareness and not to spend a fortune for the magic quadrants of this world. Denis, welcome again, and the floor is yours. Just tell us a bit about you and the company you are working for.
Well, thank you, Alf. Well, I'm Denis Seynhaeve. I'm the CEO of 3C Logic. 3C Logic is a company that's been around for quite a few years. We active these days in what we call customer experience, but our roots are in call center and voice.
Mm-hmm. And what is the blade part? That I honestly had only the first step in. Blades are for me in my Gillette razor when I still used to shave myself wet, that I use blades. Now I'm learning about high technology in blades.
Yes, we talked about that, and I'm happy to share that with a larger audience. So we we have a different approach than most companies in our universe. Call center software companies would have a tendency to all congregate into or try to get to the Gartner quadrant, which is called the omni-channel Gartner quadrant. And this is we can discuss about that during this call if you want. But this is not something that we've tried to do. Our approach has been different. You guys are you're all about CRM, right? You believe that the CRM should be at the center of everything, actually. So what we actually agree we agree with you that the call center should not be the one that gathers all the data. It should not be at the center of all the communication, and it's becoming more and more difficult for anybody to actually claim that they are doing the omni-channel thing. What's going on is that the CRMs, as they evolve, are grabbing more and more of the channels themselves, the communication channels. They had email for the longest time. Some of them now have chat bots. So we looked at that and we thought, in this, cohabitations or maybe sort of competitions between the two worlds of call centers and the CRMs. Well, if you look at their market cap, the CRMs have won the war. Everybody thinks that the CRMs are more valuable than the call center guys. So we're not that smart, but we look at that and we thought, okay, what if there wasn't a different approach where we could become subservient to the CRM, complement what they do, and that's what we call our blade approach. So it's not the blade of a razor. This is more the blade as being defined in hardware, where you take what's called a blade, and which is a small piece of equipment, and you just slide it in a bigger piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So we are that small, add-on to a CRM.
And you have found it most attractive to learn where you could be an extremely benefit for the utilizing customers. You have a more, from my perspective, strategic alliance with ServiceNow, and you had an opportunity. In my words, it's riding on the back of a tiger, an agile, interesting animal, very smart, cool in hunting, and very strong and powerful. And for you, it is a fantastic opportunity to take a ride with him.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it's better, to be lucky than smart. So it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago that when we were looking at the universe of the CRMs, and I will loosely add ServiceNow to that category, which I mean, let's call them the platform of record.
Mm-hmm.
The large enterprises want to build their digital transformation on. Sales and marketing, sure, it could be a CRM. It's going to be Salesforce, it's going to be Microsoft Dynamics. But for service and support, ServiceNow was emerging then as a very interesting contender for first place. So we were looking for the right partner, the right go-to-market strategy to carry us where we were originally as a company, servicing BPOs and SMBs to the enterprise, because we think that our product was enterprise grade. So that's what we did, and I tell you, that tiger is quite something.
Explain. I mean, for me, a tiger is this orange and brownish striped animal with big teeth that runs around in the jungle.
Well,
as long as you're sitting on its back, it's not going to hurt you.
Some people put it in their tanks, and others prefer it in a zoo. Huh?
Well, and that's not in a zoo. That one is not in a zoo. It's running wild, I tell you, and it's running fast. It's been amazing to me to see that a company of that size has been able to grow, 35, 30% a year. It's really astonishing.
Cool.
How do they do that?
Well, I guess they do a few things right, so. Again, I think this is the right people to talk to and tell me if I'm wrong. But I think that one thing that they did extremely well was to reposition themselves a few years back from handling data to handling workflow.
Mm-hmm.
So they totally rebranded themselves as the workflow company. And, well, I guess at the beginning people didn't think this was terribly interesting or important, but it is, because data it's boring. I mean, you just stack it there, and then you start analyzing it and dipping into it and so on. Workflow means movement. Something is going on.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all about taking that data and creating outcomes. And I think that's what really made them different. When people start to understand that, because an outcome means ROI, means value for the company, value for the customer. So it could be that it's better experience that is the outcome of whatever ServiceNow does, and very often it is the case. But it's also that maybe you have a better utilization of your resources. Better ROI. So now the company is winning, not necessarily the customer.
Mm-hmm. So how does 3C Logic fit into that picture?
That was my question.
Sorry, great minds, you know.
Well, I just had to make sure they heard my voice once during the show. Now I can go back on mute.
Well, maybe I'll ask you a question, Marshall, then.
No. Bad idea.
Cool idea. Top.
So what was your question, Marshall?
Where does 3C Logic fit into that?
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, we're not here to talk about ServiceNow.
no, you're absolutely
because you don't just work with ServiceNow.
No, that's true. That's absolutely true, and thank you for mentioning it. But so I think this goes back to this blade idea, right? There's some echo or something. But so we see ourselves as a complement, nothing more than a complement to a ServiceNow. Or I mean, we do it with others. We do it with Microsoft Dynamics. We do it with Sugar CRM. We do it with Salesforce a little bit, but we concentrated on ServiceNow because it is we were able to do an integration with ServiceNow which goes way beyond what we've seen possible with others, and that's where we get an interesting result for our customers, because the integration between the world where we come from, the call center, and the CRM is usually seen only at the agent level. We have a CTI. I mean, everybody does. But we've decided that the thing that really was important here was not so much features, functionality, and because you can have a longer list of what call centers could do, and people use 5% of it as usual. But what was really important was the depth of the integration.
Yeah.
And the depth of that integration, we started with the agent, and then we continued with the administrator, the supervisor, the reporting. We post the recording of the call after an interaction on ServiceNow. Now you can of course today transcribe whatever was on that recording, and from that description, get some data and create some outcomes in ServiceNow. So that's where it all fits together.
Now you have a lot of opportunities created to analyze a whole set of data, a lot more than just some calls, and get a more in-depth analysis. Where is the extra value? And you feel free to state some of your existing customers which in high volume do such analysis of, let's say, incoming calls from customers for orders, probably some complaints, but more for orders, and to get there an analysis out of this, which drives the next positive customer experience forward.
Well, what's interesting is that I mean, as you know, ServiceNow started servicing employees, not customers, and eventually, they started in ITSM. Some people still think that they're going to be that, but they do HR, they do no customer service. So what we do plays across the board. So to your question about, we have customers that actually use us in HR, and the value of picking up, because you're recording all the calls, and then you can analyze all the calls. If you can pick up one call where one of your employees is going to say, I'll sue you, or customer for, well, I mean, the ROI can be enormous. It could be millions. I mean, we're in America, right? So
yeah.
So that's
so.
that's one use case. I mean, the little border case, but it's there. We have a lot of our customers. I mean, there are international companies that didn't know that their IT departments actually could talk to anyone. They were using ServiceNow, and until very recently, they had nothing that was giving them the ability to actually, add voice to the communication channel for the IT department. So everybody was forced to either chat with them or send them emails. Well, for some companies, it's great. It's fine. Not for everyone. Now, where we really co-sell and go after opportunities side by side with ServiceNow, it's really in the customer service segment, because they're going into that great war against they will tell you that they love everybody, but the reality is they do have competitors, and they do compete on opportunities with people like Salesforce Service Cloud, and when they go after those opportunities, there is a need for voice, because customers aren't going to decide how they get in touch with you. You're not going to impose to customers to use chat or email. If they want to talk to you, you better give them a chance to do so. So in terms of the kind of customers, it really it goes from big, large industrial companies. For example, Thales in France, where they're all over the world. It would be hospitals like Cleveland Clinic in the US. We have Toyota, Total Gas in Europe. It's just all over the place, because if you're a ServiceNow customer, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. You've decided to use that platform as your platform of record. So the first thing you're going to try to do after that is to bolt on it something that works really well with it, and we are that.
That's cool.
Is it bolted on, or in a sense of what those Salesforce people say, made part of it?
Well, it's a great question, though. I mean, it feels we are built on AWS. We are not built on the ServiceNow platform.
Mm-hmm.
So we're ubiquitous. We could be doing, and we're doing it with some others, not to the same extent yet. But if you are an agent or supervisor working on ServiceNow, you're looking at your ServiceNow screen. If it wasn't for a little logo somewhere, you would not know we're there. We have no big ego. We are willing to disappear because that's the best way to get it done. It needs to feel seamless.
Mm-hmm. That's
Focus
true.
on the benefit. This is very interesting. As AWS was the buzzword, so you build your technology on utilizing AWS. So anybody who runs on AWS will have some extra fun in doing also some activities with you, as a question.
Well, I suppose that's a lot of people are on AWS, frankly, especially in our industry. It seems that it's in the form of choice for anybody that has to do anything around customer service and call centers. So yes, there are quite a few add-ons to what we do, apps that we can actually work with very easily, because we're extremely compatible.
I had a specific idea before Thomas is starting his next approach. It is that we learned a bit about Sugar CRM, for instance, that they are utilizing very in-depth AWS services instead of reinventing the wheel. And that would be very interesting and attractive to have an in-depth look inside, because what you offer could be an attractive add-on to a lot of users which are not using ServiceNow, but another universe. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have a few customers that are actually on Sugar. We have a standing integration with them, and if we see more interest from, we can certainly look at it even more. I mean, Trigger is definitely. I mean, if you look at the second tier under Salesforce, Microsoft, and so on, Trigger is right there. So definitely somebody we keep an eye on.
Cool. Thomas.
Need to unmute first. This coughing in between is pretty annoying. So if you did not decide, why did you, with your strategy of focusing on Salesforce, decide to go for sitting on a platform like AWS instead of integrating even more tightly, as you already said? So as a company, you don't have an ego and are happy to disappear within the application, which is a good approach in my book.
So the beauty of AWS versus other platforms. I mean, the company was an early adapter of AWS. This is one of the really good decisions that this company made over the years, and no regrets there. So we're going even deeper in using AWS than we have done in the past, because over the past few years, AWS has developed more and more tools and capacity that we can leverage so well. For example, we're going completely serverless. So for somebody that's not technical like me, this is mind-boggling. Yeah. What does that mean? There's no servers anymore. Of course, there are servers, but the limitation that we had in the past on the number of seats that we could put on a given server, all those were already virtual servers. That were still limited, has disappeared. So now we can theoretically, scale to the infinite. Well, we'll see if anybody give us the opportunity to try that. But that is something that AWS, being on AWS, give us the opportunity to do.
So what you're basically saying is that AWS gives you the opportunity to concentrate on what you're doing really well, instead of concentrating doing also those chores that need to be done.
Well, absolutely. We do not own a single piece of equipment. We're 100% software company. Even though firewall is virtual. I think we're way out there in terms of the technology, which is totally exciting. But there's a purpose to it, Tom. You're absolutely right. Because we know that all those things are as solid and modern and will continue to be so. We can concentrate on taking care of our customers and delivering them the best possible application on top of all this. So that's what we're doing, and something that also sets us apart. And I wanted to mention, because you see a lot of people build on AWS. For example, a company like Twilio. Well, okay, they're using AWS, and then other people have decided, okay, we're going to use Twilio as a platform as a service, and so on, and done very well by doing so. We actually are very special in the way that we own the whole stack. We're built on AWS, but we have our own telephony engine. So think about it as having Twilio built inside. That gives us a ton of flexibility in the way we can deploy with enterprise. This is why when I joined the company 5 years ago, I really thought that we had something special here, and that the company was in that position right selling to SMBs, because for SMBs made no difference, but for enterprise this makes a difference. And the difference is, a lot of those very large companies had moved their CRM, for the Siebel to the Salesforce, and or the Remedy to the ServiceNow, but they still had all their telephony on Cisco, Avaya, on site, on premise, and they're fighting how to connect the dots and make those two worlds work together, and really really perform, their plans of digital transformation? Well, because we have the whole telephony stack, we have the ability to do things that people that are built on Twilio can't do, because they're dependent on what Twilio will let them do.
Mhm.
We can take part of our solution and if you will, put it on premise. Give the key of a few servers to the customers because it's important to them for some reason or another. Because they said, you know what, I still have 3 years to go with Cisco. We wish, but we can't make the move to the cloud today. We said, that's not a problem. Not an issue with us. Let's go with a hybrid deployment, and we'll let you use your Cisco as a dial tone for as long as you wish. And when you're ready to just turn that switch and go to pure cloud, we'll do it for you. And that flexibility when we go to large enterprise account is something, because we never know what we're going to find. I mean, and where they are on their journey to the cloud, and not everybody is ready for pure cloud.
When it comes to systems, well, there are, and you mentioned Twilio. Twilio just acquired Segment, well, just a few months ago, meanwhile. So they are going more into the data collection, data organization, and making it actionable area, which is pretty much something that says workflow, or to some extent also says workflow. How's your stance there? I mean,
I think this is super exciting because we are in the middle of such a a whirlpool. I mean, it's really hard to know where which way we're looking, because it's and that whirlpool is accelerating all the time. So you're mentioning Twilio. Absolutely, that's a very good example of everybody is trying to position to be center, in this new customer experience world. And nobody, with the exception of little guys like us, nobody wants to play second fiddle. So everybody wants to be the one that's going to be in the middle, get the data, and monetize it. So Twilio, excellent example. AWS. So AWS, they sign with Salesforce. So Salesforce is reselling AWS. They also, have a decent integration with ServiceNow and maybe others. The reality is that they're going to compete with all these guys too, because they're also getting in the workflow business. They call it differently, but come on, it's the same thing. And you go down the list. Microsoft is also making a lot of noise, and they're in position to do so much because they have so many of the pieces already. So it's super exciting to see that now. What does that mean for people that were purely in the call center part of things, like a Five9 or an InContact and so on? Because they also think, hey, wait a minute, I want to be in the middle. I want to own the data. The CRM is just a little data feed, and I'm doing all the important stuff. So it's a different vision that everybody is trying to tell Mr. Customer, look, I should be the one. I should be the one in charge of your customer experience. So we're going to see a lot more movement in that area, and I think it's super exciting. This is it. It's going to take 10 years or 15 years to unfold. There's room for different versions. Different, not everybody's going to be right. Not everybody's going to be wrong. Different flavors are going to work for different people, and that's great to be part of
it. A while ago, we had a discussion about ecosystems that was with Esteban Kolsky. So you have chosen to be concentrating on one while not excluding some other ecosystems. Well, you said you integrate into Sugar, you can do with Salesforce, you can do with others. So which begs the question, why ServiceNow, which is one of the smaller ecosystems? And if you're looking at what McKinsey, for example, are saying, they're saying, okay, there are hundreds of ecosystems right now, and it will boil down to maybe a dozen. So how do you respond to that, threat, basically?
Well, I don't know. Well, ServiceNow would tell you, we're the platform of platforms. So
fair enough. I would have said if McKinsey makes such an announcement, I don't give a penny. Yeah.
Right. That's that's one way to not answer the question, right? That's one way to say I'm not competing with the other guys.
Yeah.
I'll be there for everyone. Maybe. But you're absolutely right. It's just gonna, gonna concentrate more and more. But still, it's gonna be a few dozens, because you cannot be the best thing for. I mean, you can cut it per industry, then you can cut it by geography, and then you're gonna be cutting it by size, SMBs versus enterprise. So when you start doing that, and you think that in every situation there should be, maybe 5, 6 really viable players, you get to 30 or 50.
I believe that the idea with the 12 ecosystems is very much driven by their perspective and their attitude to go in large scale, big money, and with a certain sense of humor that they prefer to go for jail just to get some money in some, let's say, in the German language, it would be halbseidene approaches, or they are just a bit unlucky in consulting some customers who get them in jailed or chopped off a CEO. Can happen. It's not too sexy for the marketing department and for some people which have to do the PR for it. But I'm with you. If I slice and dice in a different direction, I have a new ecosystem. Hooray! And if they are so easy to integrate and they have so much customer benefit for their customers, and you are the helping hand, splendid. Yeah. And this opens you new doors, new territories, new markets.
So, yeah, I have to admit, I'm thorn in terms of long-term decisions, and I see long-term these days at 2 years, right? So we're not talking 10 years here.
Fair enough.
So yeah, Tom. I mean, it's we didn't pick the big pot, but it's a pretty good pot. So one decision, one direction is okay. Let's just make sure that you continue to be the best at what you do, and things will take care of themselves. That's one thing. So
Lotus is probably a good example for, to contradict, basically.
There are some
Lotus
others.
1 to 3. So the Lotus, the whole Office competitions are maybe an argument against this.
Don't
sorry
bring
to
up
interrupt.
the guest, guys.
Or Nokia.
Well, yeah, you're right. But so the other thing is that, well, let's just be careful here. Let's make sure that we cover whole bases, or we have other opportunities. And what is mind-boggling is to see how fast things change. So look at a company like Zoom. All right.
We do.
Zoom a year ago, Zoom today. Well, first of all, we've learned to live with it, learned to hate it, but all of a sudden, here's a company that thinks that, okay, they can do more. They can build an ecosystem. they can have an app store. They can be the one. Well, a year ago, I would have never thought so, but today I'm thinking maybe that's not far-fetched.
Yeah. And sometimes some stuff is unpredictable, and sometimes some stuff is predictable. And with the flexibility you have chosen to be one of your strong, let's say, advantages, you have chosen one partner. As long as he grows, you grow with him. And that is a healthy combination and, let's say, symbiosis. Yeah. And with that, it's lovely. Yeah. And you still have the flexibility to choose a different fast growing ecosystem if you have fun with it. And they love you as much as, for instance, the customers of ServiceNow. Yeah.
So I think the customer tells you what to do.
Yeah.
At the end. So until maybe a year ago, we were not hearing much about it, but now everybody's asking you, what are you doing about Teams? You have to have an answer for that.
Yeah, I know.
Teams is going to be everywhere. So conundrum is that in a way, Team doesn't do what we do, but eventually Microsoft will do it. I mean, if they want to do it, they'll do it. But not everybody wants to buy everything from Microsoft either. So there might
what a surprise!
But Teams, at the same time as Zoom, has become very important in the enterprise. So when a company decides to adopt Teams, to replace all their desk phone, and so really it's more on the UCaaS type of part of the house. But they ask us, hey, how do you work with Teams? So we have to make sure that whatever we do is working with Teams, which means that we can pass calls to Teams, we can take calls from Teams, we can have presence of the agents, that's visible from Teams and so on, because it's even our customers today that are ServiceNow centric, if it has to work with Teams and we do not, it puts us in a little bit of a bind. So there are things like that are changing really fast that we're working on very seriously, because at the end, if you do it right, it's better for everyone, and for us, it's an upsell opportunity, and it makes us more sticky.
Yeah.
It's very attractive to see the call center market and to analyze how many organizations have invested heavily in call center solutions based on Skype for Business. And you find out that these are smaller organizations, highly sophisticated, highly specialized, sitting, for instance, in the Netherlands, CC for Teams now, or CC for Skype. Mm-hmm. And you have some distributors which are highly recommendable as they came out of the call center universe and came from one of the hardware providers called Alliance Systems. And if you analyze a bit in more depth, you find out that sharing is caring, and that's not the attitude of Microsoft. They keep a lot of their interfaces secret. And so you have to be very, very good friends to get it early enough to be as fast as your customer requests. And that is the nasty part in the game. There is no documentation, or at least no proper one. The systems are changing so very fast. And this comes to the point where for an integrator and a distributor of solutions and a software house, a smaller entity, for instance, which do a very specialized job, they get into real trouble. Such international operating companies like Fresenius or Schaeffler or Continental, they have a clear view of what they expect from their, let's say, service organizations and helping hands. And then, it's time for a change. If you then can pinpoint to the friendly company in Redmond and say, yeah, we would love to help you. If they would know how to sort it, we are heavily involved in fixing it in 2 days. But we need the interface. And that is a funny thing. It's happening the third time in a time span out of 6 to 7 years that I found out in this specific market, and I'm very in-depth in that market, which I didn't tell you up front, is that I digged a bit, and I found out that this is one of the parts where I congratulate you that you have chosen an environment which is to your liking and a bit more communicative. Yeah. So the Teams part is not always the easy one. And from the documentation part, what I found out, Zoom is a bit easier. But just an observation.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, and the attitude is totally different, Ralph. You're absolutely right. I mean, Microsoft wants to own everything. Zoom is acting as a more open platform and inviting people to join them and build apps, which at the end might be the way to actually grow their presence a lot faster. And definitely make a lot more friends.
Well, Zoom has the advantage of, facing its growth moment in a time of crisis and opportunity. Whereas Microsoft is trying to add on to what it's been doing for the past 30 years. That's got to have a big effect on it.
That's a very cool point, Marshall, because the one is the upsell story, and go for the next better product. You have used Skype, you have used Skype for Business, now you use Teams, and everything is sexy, cool, and people know how to operate. Whereas in the other universe, you have to scale, where the other guys are easier to scale and have no such bad press, such as some people are hacking the systems. So a liaison with Oracle came in nice and sexy. And another liaison that somebody like the friends from the Blue Cloud said, oh, we want not to have too much Teams in our software, so we make friends with Zoom. And we keep Teams as long as it's possible out of our corridor. Yeah?
Which Blue Cloud do you mean?
The Blue Cloud with some force in it.
Tommy?
The Blue Cloud with some sales and some force in it.
Yeah, okay, so the one with Azure, they are not doing Zoom. They acquired Slack. They don't need Zoom anymore. What do you think about that, by the way, Dennis?
What, if you don't need Zoom anymore?
No. The Blue Cloud and Slack.
Oh, God. I don't know.
That's an honest answer.
Well,
That's fair.
I don't have an opinion about everything.
Why not? Well, you're not an analyst.
No, I'm not. I mean, this. So you guys should know definitely a lot better than I do. And no, I haven't followed it that closely. So well, we'll see what happens, right?
So on the other hand, it might be, well, if you're doing business with Salesforce or with Salesforce customers on top of the Salesforce platform, well, right now you got an additional in-house competition, right?
Yeah, I suppose, yes. But as you guys know, we don't spend much time worrying or spending time at Salesforce at all, which might be counterintuitive because everybody else does. And one of the reasons for that is that we have a good relationship with ServiceNow, where they have actually acted as real partners. We have weekly cadence with them. We're part of we're part of something. We share roadmaps. This would never happen with Salesforce. We would be one of the dots on their map would be one of few thousands of companies that they would look at. Well, you want to work with us, That's good luck. But this has not been the attitude with ServiceNow. Maybe because this it was so symbiotic that we needed them and they needed us. It's been good, and I'm not going to spoil that by spending time on the on the other side. It's one thing which is really important to me is that we're being invited in large RFPs and things like where those big companies or government are looking at either using Service Cloud or using ServiceNow, or maybe something else, maybe SAP or whatever it is. ServiceNow can bring us in the RFP. Actually, sometimes fill up the 2 pages that had to do with the call center on our behalf, and they just fill it up because they know that we will not be on the other side.
And in Germany and in some other states, you can only be married to one partner, so it's fair enough. And you might have, if you are in the southern countries, you have some spouses. That's also attitude by culture. So also fair enough. If one knows about how it's working, then there is not too much stress. But if, for instance, you see the value in an in-depth relationship, I embrace the perspective. I prefer to invest in one strong relationship and keep the others on a certain level. So I'm open for some opportunities and I don't wave them away, but I focus strongly on what is working to mutual benefit and to the benefit of the customer. Would that be a politically correct statement?
Well, that's definitely what we're doing. If that's the good thing or the bad thing, this is what we're doing. And it's the same thing with when you look at the product. We made that decision, which was counterintuitive for most 2 years back, where we were, we had email, we had chat, we had all that. We had even a baby CRM as part of our solution. And we got rid of all that because we decided let's do one thing right, and that was all about voice. So yeah, we really narrowed down, made our solutions, smaller but deeper, better, and then we narrowed down the universe in which we're trying to fit. So yeah, this is not for everybody. Maybe this is a little extreme, but no, I have no regrets.
It is interesting. Your attitude on the relationship reminds us to some of the chaps we have regularly around when it comes to customer journey orchestration, real-time customer journey management from Thunderhead, which gave us a similar speech such as, we prefer in-depth and strong relationship instead of plenty. Yeah. For them, it was beneficial as well, so far.
Yeah, and then and again, sometimes you get lucky. It just so happened that voice is becoming more important, not less, because technology caught up with us. Where all of a sudden those things we were talking about earlier about transcribing. I mean, transcription wasn't working. I mean, it wasn't. It was ugly. You couldn't do anything with it, and now it does work. The same thing with natural language processing. You could. I mean, enterprises couldn't use that, but today they embrace it. They want it. Why? Because it works. So now we have new tools that we can actually use so that we can make voice, come back to be maybe the medium of choice versus typing on the phone, which I hate doing.
Speaking to my phone is quite more in the natural approach. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're talking to a machine. Actually, people don't mind as long as the machine doesn't ask them to repeat 3 times and doesn't get it at the end. So it's all about the customer experience, and that's where we see it, and it's so interesting because some of those tools can save so much money for companies that you could say, well, let's replace all of our agents with virtual agents. Well, not so fast. Not so fast.
Yeah.
It's where do you cut it? How far can you go using virtual agents and produce the right outcome for the customer? And if the virtual agent is becoming incapable of making, you should actually, when you analyze the call, you can see and you can see where the customer is getting to get upset. And you know that you should be dialing back your virtual agents and maybe make the virtual agent pass to a human a little sooner. We're getting there. It's really exciting.
So, as voice is becoming more important, and as 3C Logic is growing, and you're having trouble with words today, which is why I'm not talking that much. Where do you see this going? What is your blue ocean strategy?
The blue ocean. Well, we are in the blue ocean already. We left behind the bloody ocean that was the omni-channel battle where everybody is trying to do the same thing and move on to that Gardner chart up to the right. So that was bloody. We're out of there. So we have a blue ocean, as you call it, Marshall, which is the ServiceNow universe. I think there are a few more. Maybe this is the Atlantic, and maybe there's a little Mediterranean Sea for us with a sugar. And maybe there's a Pacific Ocean with maybe it could be SAP, Pega. Name it. There are a few people out there that are sizable, to say the least. That when you look at their stack, they do not have the solution for what we do. So I don't know. We'll put some. We'll find some more blue.
Cool approach, and leave the shark ponds to others, which was a smart move anyhow. Yeah. So your red oceans were the shark ponds, and you were in the blue ones. Now, which is, from technology speaking, a new field where you would love to go in? Where do you see a future perspective from technology?
Well, we're actually rebuilding or product from A to Z. We're changing the engine as we fly the plane. So it's nothing in particular. It's an ongoing movement. So we're doing a few things, and I think they're going to carry us for a few years. We talked about using AWS better in terms of getting that hosting platform to perform for us in such a way that it's total reliability, scalability, and so on. So that's one direction. The customer doesn't see it. The customer benefits from it. We do too, because it actually costs less to do things better. So that's exciting. But where we're doing some really interesting stuff is reinventing the IVR. If you're familiar with that jargon of call centers, so we're calling it now the interaction manager, because it's nice. It's nice to have a new name for it. But the reality is, this is all we're getting to a situation where the customer will be able to really, and the customer for us is not the old telephony guy. The customer for us is whoever is in charge of customer experience in the enterprise. That's the guy. And they will be able to do, thanks to low code, no code, and so on, build and change their IVR on the fly, and include in their virtual agents that we will have in the library. So I mean, your imagination is the only limit here, where we can just plug something which is already meant to perform a certain action at a certain place in the tree, or replace it with another piece, and that can be done, without being, a developer. Whoever is in charge of the customer experience can actually play with the Lego pieces themselves. I think that's exciting.
I love to hear Lego. Mm-hmm.
When you are saying that you are rewriting A to Z or A to Z right now, how do you make sure that this doesn't disrupt your customers?
Because we do it in pieces. It's all modular. We talked about the telephony engine earlier, or Twilio inside. That's one piece. Actually, we test it by using Twilio from time to time to see if it works. So we swap it with the new telephony engine with Twilio, and so that tells you, it really, you can take it in, take it out, and it's such that actually somebody else could use it in their own stack. That's not part of our business model, but that's something that could be done. But no, I mean, obviously we don't want to disrupt our customers. It's
no, right. But so if you're saying, let's continue this thought for a little, might be the wrong one, so then brush me off, please. But you say it's not part of your business model, but if you are modularized on your software stack, and if you can easily exchange your telephony engine or probably other engines with another engine, why not sell smaller blades, like not the choppers, well, the big slaughter's knife, but more kind of a fruit knife, a fruit blade?
That is definitely in the back of my mind, and it's definitely designed in such a way that it would be possible. But at this point, we have a customer. We have a list of customers and an opportunity in front of us that are part of a given roadmap that we service, and nothing is going to take us away from that. Now, the way it's built is definitely to go in the direction that you're mentioning, but that might be might be a year away.
Okay, it's interesting, because at the end of the day, what you said is you're following the customer, you're listening to your customers, and so what if it's a year away, they're not asking much for something like this yet.
No, because I mean, the customer would be somebody different. For example, for the telephony engine, go back to example, it would be for somebody that wants to replace Twilio. Well, the customer is not going to be Cleveland Clinic. The customer is going to be one or somebody that currently has built apps on Twilio. There are dozens of companies that have done that, and so we might go in the business of selling that capability to people that might want to have maybe a more modern and version of Twilio.
Okay.
That's a completely different business model.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's why I asked you to brush me off if necessary. But being mindful of your time. So, what I would still be interested in is in what would you give companies as an advice that are trying to become the hearts of their own ecosystem. So small companies that are trying to become the hearts of their own ecosystems instead of playing nicely within one or more ecosystems.
Well, I mean, Tom, you're talking about small companies that are part of a larger company ecosystem.
Well, at the end of the day, there can be only that many gorillas around.
Yeah. No, I mean, from our own experience, choose wisely, but choose, because it's very time consuming for a company to develop multiple options, and then you have to maintain them and so on. To say nothing about the relationship. I mean, it takes. I mean, everybody discount that. I mean, you think you have a product and that's it. No. Now you have to convince the people at X company that actually you're worthy to be important in their ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
It takes forever. It takes forever. I mean, the human factor. You should never consider the human factor is not going to get in the way. So, our relationship with ServiceNow, it took 5 years to get to where we are.
Yeah, which is perfect for closing words. Unless you want to have an own wrap up. So I love the choose wisely but choose part that I really loved. I think that's a key message that we probably should convey. So from my point of view, thanks a lot for your time, for your interesting words and your open sharing of what you are doing. So which is not what everybody does. So there are some cloudy companies who don't. So thanks from my end.
Well, you're welcome, guys. It was a pleasure.
Same here. It's great having you.
It was and is fantastic. And if you had fun as much as we had, be welcome to come back.
Okay. So goodbye to the audience. Not necessarily to you, Dennis. Goodbye to the audience, and hope to see you guys again next week.